Greetings, ladies and Mendeljets, and welcome to this latest episode of Tales from Outer Space, where I take a space-related story from around the internet and read it out loud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Please don't forget to do the usual YouTube gumph, because if you don't, the nanite swarms will steal your other sock. But more importantly, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. Story number 1. A Pile of Brass, written by OH3. Personal Journal of Ambassador Zahn. The humans bestowed an honor on me today that I shan't soon forget. I attended a sending ceremony, funeral they call it, for one of their most venerated heroes, Sergeant Major Beauregard Thibodeau, Earth Federation Marine Corps. He passed quietly in his sleep, though the manner of his death is hardly befitting his life. The human manner of sending ceremony is not unlike ours. Others gather and tell the deeds of the dead. Throughout the ceremony, it became clear that the most other humans present were alive now due to some personal act of heroism from Sergeant Major. One particular deed stands out that I'll record here. Humanity, as we know, fought their way into the stars. The story hardly bears repeating. Suffice to say that when the Order attacked the planet by surprise 70 cycles ago, it sorely underestimated human tenacity. The humans salvaged the wreckage of their would-be conquerors, improved it, and took it to the heavens. It was early in the war that the Sergeant Major won his fame. At that time, there was Corporal Thibodeau, United States Marine Corps. He was on the front in one battle for DC. The Order wanted to preserve the planet, and counting on the weakness of the mere apes they observed, the haughty Order troops landed and attacked. The fighting was fierce, and the humans didn't know what they were fighting. They still used rudimentary explosive projectile weapons. Terrible things, and practically shocking to the Order's troops, who'd never seen such rending, tearing wounds. The corporal and his squad were holding their machine gun positions in the streets of the city, fighting from holes blasted into the asphalt by falling explosives. The Order's advance through the city was quick. When the call to withdraw came, Thibodeau volunteered to cover his squad's retreat. A small, selfless, and crazy brave act that the Order found comes naturally to many humans. The men bounded rearward, one of those present recalling looking back to see Thibodeau hadn't followed. The enemy were all but on top of them, bodies of their dead stacked so high that he could scarcely shoot through them. The men called to Thibodeau through the communications devices, urging him to follow. His reply still rings in all their ears. Thibodeau bellowed back into the headset at full volume over the rapid firing of the gun. "Get the feck out of here! Getting buried in brass is a good goddamn funeral for me!" The men at the sending ceremony laughed and shouted grunts of approval at the quote being read aloud. Of course, it didn't need to be read for the men to know it. The whole military of Earth has long had it memorized. Thibodeau's war cry, in fact, became the clarion call of the resistance. By the time his position was overrun, the young corporal was so grievously wounded that he was left for dead. Another mistake of the invaders. Humans are very hard to kill. Over the next few days, he crawled on his belly to safety, moving only at night to avoid detection. Within months, he was fighting again. At the conclusion of the recitation of his deeds, the whole sending party passed his open casket to say goodbye. I, too, was ushered into the line. As I approached his body, I noticed a particular adornment. The inside of the wooden box he laid in was lined with thousands of brass containers of the now defunct human weapons. The Sergeant Major lay down in his bed of brass, looked at peace. End of story. Story number 2. KISS, written by Unforeseen. The human sat there across from me in the dropship. His armor was angular and black as night. A cruel visage of a snarling demon was inscribed onto its faceplate. Narrow eyes, a sweeping, wiping tongue, exuding malice, ready to leap to devour me. A vision of nightmares from all the peoples of the galaxy. I stared, motionless, the tiny voice in my head urging me to run from this imposing creature. The manifestation of all the scary things my primitive ancestors feared. The dropship rocked, bringing me back to reality as I bumped my fellow beside me. The human shifted, bringing my attention back to it. I saw something crude and bulky on his chest. It did not fit, out of place compared to his armor and rifle. It looked old and worn. I glimpsed a logo of some kind near the center of the thing. My helmet's HUD picking it up, running it through the TAC link, and providing a summary of what it was. Type: handheld small arms. Make: Smith & Wesson Earth. Action: smokeless powder, solid kinetic projectiles. Caliber: .44 Magnum, 10.9 by 33mm R. Energy: 2078. Capacity: 6. The dropship rocked again, snapping me out of my pondering. Why would this avatar of death carry it, an old, primitive thing? Under it, my club? No, a knife. With something tan wrapping it, some biological material. The hide of an animal? A kinetic weapon and a knife. Was it some keepsake from another time or another life? No, this monster would not be so sentimental. It has a reason, a purpose behind it, as if it could hear my thoughts, feel my eyes on it, smell my fear. It stirred, it moved, its head coming down to look at me. I froze, fixed in place, and the bay of the dropship became small, intimate, deadly. One word appeared on my HUD, finite and direct. What? I dared not reply, for I feared to endure the wrath of the beast. Yet I spoke, putting my trust in the tackling translator. Why, carry such an old crude thing? My heart stopped with my reply, my fear, my trepidation consuming me. Silence. An eternity in silence. It spoke, one thought, one word appearing in my HUD, in angry red letters. Kiss! My mind halted, ceasing to think, stalled in confusion. Then the ramp alarm sounded, the red light flashing. We stood in unison, the human towering above the rest of us. The crew chief counting down. 3, 2, 1. The light snapped green, the ramp fell. I ran. Reality was a blur, a frenzied chaos of struggling, of death over life. Suddenly, my world became pain and blackness, then light and fear. Before me was a haired and scaled monstrosity, snarling and foaming, writhing in agony of existence and the pleasure of inflicting pain into the universe as compensation for its creation. I was next to pay the toll. I aimed, I fired. Nothing. It moved with purpose, with finality, invincible as the world moved around it, as if reality dared not defy its will, for nothing slowed it. Again, I fired. The radiation on my weapon did not phase it, nor slow it. I held my weapon in a stupor, in confusion, for it had never failed me before. Betrayed by it, I stood, confronted with the acolyte of hell. A shadow of blackness came upon me, sudden fear following it. But not my fear, the fear of the abomination. Light, blinding light, and a roar. A shadow moved forward from me, and now I could see. I could see the human. Arm outreached as if pointing to will the wrath away, its hand expelling fire and light. It held the old thing, showing its singular purpose with each blast of sound and light. 5 more times it sounded, and the beast screamed in pain. But it still advanced, no longer seeking to even its ledger with the universe, but with a singular being who dared defy its will. It sprang. The human flashed in a movement as it drew its blade. My world, once again, went dark as they connected. I woke, not on the field, but in a world of white and sterility. I surveyed my new surroundings, uniform in its color and hue. Except fear again in an instant, but also recognition. The human standing over me, guarding me. Its faceplate, eyeless and black with its snarling-tongued demon, looked down at me. It spoke. Yes! Keep it simple, stupid. My mind stalled, still unable to understand as before. Was it some prayer for the demon god it worshipped? No, it could not be that. It brought its hand to its chest, slowly with care. It touched the old things it kept there. It spoke again. When complexity fails, simplicity succeeds. The dropship shook. It focused me, brought me back to the task at hand. It shook again. Something stirred across from me. It was small, compact, non-blooded, full of fear. It looked up at me, its gaze falling upon the front of my armor. It spoke. Why do you carry such a crude thing? I sat lost in my thoughts. I touched the leather that wrapped the hilt of my knife. A knife my ancestors would have carried while dreaming of the stars. One word came to the forefront of my mind, so clear, as if it was etched into my mind by the hand of demon sent by death. Kiss. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.